All right, this is the copyright disclaimer. The copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Fair use, fair use, fair use.
Do you believe the U.S. government sprayed some kind of radioactive material on the residents of St. Louis?
I believe that they did.
And the government's surprising response to our request to declassify information.
I mean, what the hell?
Plus, renowned activist Erin Brockovich weighs in.
The United States Army now admits that it sprayed a chemical that contained cadmium, a known carcinogen, on a neighborhood of more than 10,000 people. Critics say this was done with no warning and no consent.
The fog drifted through the streets like a ghost.
That's exactly what it looked like, a thick fog.
It was summertime and it was hot. We would just run through it as fast as we could and try to just cool ourselves off. It stuck to you.
The spray was so foul as far as the odor. It made some of us have headaches, nausea, dizziness.
That's what I remember. It made me sick.
It wasn't the weather. It was an eerie smoke descending from rooftops, rolling from the backs of trucks.
Regular flatbed truck, but it had a big machine on the back. And it had a big nozzle that really sprayed a fog you couldn't even see through. It was that thick. And it really, we felt it as it would adhere to our skin. And as far as the guys on top of the buildings, they tried to portray them to us as maintenance workers. But we was like, what is a maintenance worker doing? And basically a hazmat suit. And they had masks and goggles.
In the 1950s and 60s, in secret, the U.S. Army sprayed zinc cadmium sulfide into the air of a St. Louis housing project, a largely black neighborhood called Pruitt-Igoe.
Standing at where Pruitt-Igoe used to be here in St. Louis, and it's hard to believe more than 10,000 people used to live here. As we bring our drone up, you can see it's mostly just an empty lot now, overgrown with trees. This used to be filled with 33 high-rise buildings. It was all demolished in 1976. And according to the National Research Council, St. Louis was chosen for spraying experiments because it had similar characteristics to Soviet targets like Moscow in terms of population density and terrain and proximity to a river.
The government now admits to a secretive series of Cold War tests, including one dubbed Large Area Coverage. More than 30 tests conducted across the U.S. and Canada, spraying zinc cadmium sulfide from planes, rooftops, and vehicles to simulate how a biological attack might spread, all to prepare for potential warfare against the Soviets.
Many of us been in the military and had top secret clearances. We know how it works.
We have died for America. We have fought for America.
You are a veteran.
I am United States Air Force veteran.
Dr. Starks, you're a veteran as well,
Yes, I am. I'm an Air Force veteran also.
Is there a sense of betrayal here?
Definitely, definitely.
They want to know if those secret tests have anything to do with what they're observing with their own eyes.
I lost my two older siblings to cancer. I lost a brother last month.
I've been diagnosed recently with a rare form of lymphoma.
I had cancer of the left kidney, had partial removal of my left kidney.
News Nation reached out to the Army for answers. They provided a one-page response. It says the Army's own Center for Health Promotion and Preventive Medicine investigated in 1994 and found inhalation exposure would not pose a health risk. They also cite later corroborating reviews, including a 1997 review by the National Research Council. Perhaps they assumed we wouldn't read the NRC's 380-page report, but we did, and the Army's statement doesn't show the full picture. In that 1997 review, the National Research Council explicitly says repeated exposure to zinc cadmium sulfide can cause kidney or bone toxicity or lung cancer if levels are high enough. And they admitted they couldn't fully assess the risk. Why? Because some Army records remain classified, it says, for national security reasons. More troubling, key Army exposure records were missing, and when the NRC asked the Army to supply them, the Army said it couldn't find them. Finally, the NRC considered conducting its own study, but concluded it wasn't feasible. In short, it did not test the site, collect samples, or test residents, and they didn't have access to all the data. Their review was based on what the Army gave them, and what the Army either could not find or withheld.
In part one of our News Nation investigation last night, we uncovered a mysterious fog that once drifted through a St. Louis neighborhood, one that residents still remember decades later.
It made some of us have headaches, nausea, dizziness.
They didn't ask for our permission. We didn't ask for them to spray us. My government used me like I was a guinea pig.
They're waiting us out.
They're waiting on all of us to die.
The government admits it sprayed a chemical that contained cadmium, a known carcinogen, critics say without warning and without consent. They sprayed it on a neighborhood of more than 10,000 people, but now years later, residents are getting sick, some with rare forms of cancer, and they're asking what else might be hidden from them. Specifically, what else could have been in that spray? News Nation's Natasha Zubas picks up the investigation from here.
We're on our way to meet with a researcher right now who has dedicated her career, decades, to declassifying documents and trying to figure out what exactly happened here in the city of St. Louis and what exactly was in that spray.
Across the country, the government conducted secret Cold War experiments in plain sight.
It was so secretive that we're really just now sort of digging out from underneath this to try to understand the scale of it.
And Dr. Lisa Martino-Taylor helped uncover many of them.
We know that they were giving radioactive cocktails to pregnant women. We know that they were feeding radioactive oatmeal to children in state schools. They've admitted to those things, and they won't release the material related to St. Louis.
It's true. American children in state-run institutions like the Fernald School were fed radioactive oatmeal as part of studies by MIT sponsored by the Atomic Energy Commission. You can see some of the documents Dr. Martino-Taylor worked to gather and declassify on MIT letterhead describing experiments on human subjects. The children, some of them orphans, were told they'd be joining a science club. They were promised a quart of milk a day, a trip to a baseball game, to the beach. A copy of the 1994 congressional hearing shows those children, now grown, describing being told the oatmeal was just vitamins and recalling the health problems that followed: lumps on my arms, my stomach. Pregnant women were also unknowingly given radioactive iron at top hospitals in Tennessee and California to study how radiation crossed the placenta, some later reporting miscarriages, illness, or birth defects. A class action lawsuit resulted in a settlement in the 90s.
Do you believe the U.S. government sprayed some kind of radioactive material on the residents of St. Louis?
I believe that they did. There's so much contextual evidence that points that way, and I spent years looking at this.
She says her research reveals the men who designed and oversaw the St. Louis experiments were some of the top experts in radioactive weapons.
We know that the people who designed the study, who oversaw the study, these were all the radiological weapons experts who were looking at open-air radiological weapons.
One of them, Brigadier General William Creasy, was head of the Army Chemical Corps, the very branch leading America's secret radiological weapons program during the Cold War. He brought in a scientist named Philip Layton, who was the Army's leading authority on using radioactive particles in aerosol form, fog-like clouds designed to drift over enemy terrain.
So the very man who designed this spraying experiment in St. Louis was an expert in using radioactive fog against the enemy.
Yes, he was the expert, the expert.
Then she says there's the timing.
They were looking for a city to test their offensive weapons program. They wanted to do it. They expressed this in documents. St. Louis was their chosen city. That was their analog city to Moscow. And they wanted to do this in 1953. And they showed up in 1953 in St. Louis.
But there's one document Dr. Martino Taylor has never been able to unearth. It's still classified. The Joint Quarterly Reports detail the spraying experiments, all written by Layton himself. The last one is missing. It's called Joint Quarterly Report 5, and we tried to get it. Our team filed a Freedom of Information Act request on May 5th of 2025. By law, the government must respond to a FOIA within 20 working days, but it's been more than 3 months with multiple follow-ups. Nothing. The silence is what's called a constructive denial, and renowned activist Erin Brockovich says it reminds her of cases where the truth was hidden.
So, Erin, what is your reaction to this News Nation investigation? Did this shock even you?
Absolutely. I think my comment was, are we WTF the kidding me? I mean, what the hell? It's awful.
We are the Hebrew Israelites from the Indianapolis branch of the Great Millstone, and we're here to give all praises, glory, and honor to
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash.
Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teaching us this 100% truth. Salutations to them and our fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners, and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you, we say Shalom.
Shalom.
All right, this is another installment of our camp series called For Thy Violence Against Thy Brother Jacob. All right, and we're going into the Cold War experiment that was going on in St. Louis. Okay, where they were, spraying these chemicals, and in the so-called black neighborhoods, Israelites. And as we go through these, we've been seeing that the United States government has not ceased since we've been on this land, experimenting on us. All right, and all of this stuff is just coming out. It's like decade after decade after decade after decade, and they watch and see how these things are going to affect us. All right, so today's article comes from U.S. News, from NBC News. And like I said, it's about that Cold War experiment on Jake in St. Louis. All right. And title says, we were experimented on. Victims of secret Cold War testing in St. Louis demand compensation. All right. It says...
Do we want to read Obadiah?
Oh, yeah.
Salakia. No, so good. This is the book of Obadiah, verse 10. It says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. All right. And when you go into that word violence, it goes into things like cruelty or injustice. All right. So for thy cruelty or injustice towards thy brother Jacob, all right, shame shall cover thee. All right. And like I said, like the brother said, we've been doing these for thy violence against thy brother Jacob series for a really long time, man. And it's brought out the things that you've done to the nation of Israel, man.
Yep.
All right. But it says, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Meaning what? All right. All these things are going to be revealed, are going to be brought forth. All right. And what? You're going to be put to shame, and then eventually, what? You're going to go in chains, and after that, you're going to serve your time in slavery, and you're going to be cut off as a nation.
Yep.
All right. And this is going to be Israel's, all right, retribution for thy violence, man. All right, it's gonna be the big payback, man. All right,
and that you said cut off as a nation. That is what it means. Exterminated completely.
Yep.
All right. So, all right, we'll get into the article. It says it's by Associated Press. It says St. Louis. Ben Phillips' childhood memories include basketball games with friends and neighbors gathering in the summer shade at the St. Louis housing complex. He also remembers watching men in hazmat suits scurry on the roofs of high-rise buildings as a dense material poured into the air. He says, I remember the mist. Phillips, now 73, said, I remember what we thought was smoke rising out of the chimneys. Then there were machines on the top of the buildings that were spewing this mist.
Priest.
Go ahead.
Yep, this is a book of Psalms, chapter 10, and I'm just going to verse 8.
In the village.
Yeah. It says, he sitteth in the lurking places of the villages, and the secret places doth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor, right? And this is Esau to a T, man.
Yep.
All right, he sitteth in a lurking place. Like what Esau does, like they like to do things in secrecy, man. All right, because ultimately, you know, Esau, they want to keep that white image, that pure image that they have, man. All right, even though that's been revealed that that's not the truth, but they like to do things in secrecy so that nobody sees them, man. All right, so the things that you see now, like the chemtrails that are going on, even in the article that we're reading, man, the Esau, they've been doing these things for years and years and years, man.
Yeah.
All right. It said, in the secret places does he murder the innocent. Who is that talking about? That's talking about the nation of Israel, man. All right. Because honestly, the nation of Israel is really a peaceful people, man. All right. Jake, they what? You put Jake in a certain place. What? They mind their business, man. All right. But Esau, what? Because of that perpetual hatred that they have, they can't allow that to happen, man. All right, so what? He's trying to murder the innocent, like I said, which are the Israelites, man. All right, it says his eyes are privily set against the poor, so in secrecy, man. He's trying to find out a way to destroy Israel, man. All right, it says in verse 9, he lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. All right, and I'm pretty sure brothers have seen a lion stalking his prey. All right, a lot of times they blend in into the environment, and you can't even see them, man. All right, and this is how Esau likes to do, man. All right, they lieth in wait, all right, and catch you when you're least expecting it, man. All right.
I was gonna say that's what you call an ambush, which he is known for doing. Going all the way back to when we were leaving Egypt. You know, he wait, come up from behind, you know, kill the feeble, the young, you know, the weak, those who couldn't help themselves. Yep. And then even some of the strongest, you know, if he's gonna ambush you, you know, he already know what he's gonna use. He know you don't have it. You know, Jake's not, you know, walking around. Well, I won't say that today, but there was a time Jake wasn't walking around strapped all the time. You know, but that's what he was doing. Like this guy that just went to jail, you know. He was it Chud the Builder?
Yeah, I was just talking about him this morning.
Yeah, it's him. You know, he's going in the villages, you know, trying to provoke people to do stuff so he can take them out.
Yeah.
Yep, you didn't stand your ground, but he didn't realize all those videos. He said that on video, so it's gonna work against him.
Y'all bring that Isaiah unrighteous decrees?
No.
Can you bring that out real quick?
You got?
I ain't got it yet.
Okay. Well, I guess I could have been pulling it on. I was just listening to what y'all were saying because you made the mention of like, you know, how they secretly wait.
I got it.
Go ahead.
This book Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 1, it says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed."
Yeah, so that prescribed, they already set traps, you know. They set it through their laws. And then before you know it, you know, you got these 3-strike rules, you know, type bills that they'll set upon the people, you know, or like I said, like with the testing of our people, you know, we talk about the Tuskegee, Guatemala testing. You have even going back where they were doing a lot of like the hysterectomies and the different things on our women and our men without pain. So they were doing this to set themselves up for other things that they were actually getting ready to do, you know. So
the one with the oatmeal just popped up that we did a while ago.
Yeah,
that's popped. I've seen that like 4 times recently. We did it close to a year ago. Where they would use experiment on kids with the oatmeal, putting iron in. So yeah, man, this devil, man, it's got to go.
Yep, and then read the rest of it.
Yep, it says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed."
Yeah, the things that they've done to us, you know, like even in this, you know, is grievous, you know, unto us. There's no nation, you know, and especially so even so-called white man has actually have done us any good,
right?
You know, but yet our people still try to side with them or think that they will, you know, that they will do them some good someday. But they're showing us, and the scriptures have also told us that they are
there's none good.
There's none good. You know, go ahead.
Can I, you mind if I bring this up?
Yeah, sure.
This is the root word of grievousness, which is grief in the etymological line. It says hardship, suffering, pain, bodily affliction, make heavy, cause griefs, mental mental pain and sorrow. All right, so hey, these are things that they're writing into their laws, man. All right, like the brother Barra was going into, man. Hey, they're writing these things. What mental pain and sorrow into their law towards the nation of Israel, man.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
That was all. Did you want verse 2 or?
No. If you could get that in the NLT.
Yeah.
Or the Amplified, either one.
It's Isaiah 10:1 in the NLT. It says, "What sorrow awaits the unjust judges and those who issue unfair laws."
Yeah, so that's what, because of they're doing these things, we always bring back is what thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. What woe awaits thee that does these unrighteous laws, these unrighteous decrees. Go ahead.
You want verse 2?
Yeah. Oh, that was it?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, read verse 2 of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll read it in the NLT. It says, Isaiah 10:2 in the NLT. It says, "They deprive the poor of justice and deny the rights of the needy among my people. They prey on widows and take advantage of orphans."
Yep. You get the man out the home, the man out of the house, and then they pretty much know that the woman's the weaker vessel, and then and that's a part of the, I always say Proverbs 6, you know, sowing discord, the six abominations, you know, that they have done, you know. Yep. That's it.
Okay, back to the article. It says, as Congress considers payments to victims of Cold War nuclear contamination in the St. Louis region, people who were targeted for secret government testing from that same time period believe they're due compensation too. And we already know, because that key word there, considers. They're just making it look good. You know they're not going to do nothing. They just spent all this money for this military budget. What's that? The president's new thing, declaring anybody terrorists except so-called white folks, like the KKK and stuff like that. It's that NPESM-7. That's what that does. That's literally what that does. Basically, what it does. You know, criminalizes everybody else but white supremacy. That's why the January 6 people are getting reparations. You know.
Yeah.
For the stuff they did.
Again, going back to unrighteous, it's like those unrighteous decrees. Yep.
Yep. So yeah.
And again, and that, you know, not to go too far off subject, but those are the, you know, these are the things that they do, and then and they know that that's going to cause division and uproar. We're going to have people fighting. So then, in the process of it, they already have other things that they are ready to do, because their blessing is the sword. You know, so pretty much we know a lot of these things. This tension is going to build up to, okay, martial law, civil war. Then we bring the government in, and we understand through all of these other violence against our brother Jacobs, when the government gets involved, they're going to side with the side of what you just stated, their own people.
Yep.
You know, so it shouldn't be surprising to us that all this money is being sent to these guys who they call the January Sixers.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what's on, like I said, I read here, it considers. See, that's like they were considering reparations for the Tulsa massacre, and then passed that bill that said, you know, if you give a reparation to any municipality that forced legislation for reparations for the descendants of slaves, you won't get any federal aid when it comes to natural disasters.
Right.
So same situation here. While this is being considered, legislation has already been put on the floor for overturning the 14th Amendment.
Yeah.
If they do that, nothing's gonna happen. They're gonna stall this, especially with them having a House, Senate, and executive branch. They got the judicial, executive, and the legislative branch. So that stuff is gonna fly right through.
Yeah. So pretty much it's a hamster wheel that you're on.
That's it. That's it.
And so you're fighting against someone that has the power that can actually go back and reset laws, move the goalpost. You know, when you think you're that much closer to gain something, then they move it further. But there in the background, all the intent is to keep you away from what's rightfully yours.
Right.
And our people are fighting for the crumbs, when in actuality our true fight is the spiritual fight. You know, that Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai has stated, where he said, vengeance is mine, he'll repay. You know, he's going to come and he's going to reward the righteous, those who you know, in his eyesight are deserving to be kings of the earth. But then he's also going to be bringing down these other nations and 2/3 of our people, you know, for all the wickedness and evil that's been placed on the earth. So if we understand to wait on Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, then we won't. Then you don't get caught up in your emotions of, oh, you're giving money to the January Sixers, but yet you have our people who's been promised the 40 acres and a mule. And then you won't get caught into that emotional fight in this hamster wheel.
Right.
You know?
Right. See, that's and to your point, you know, them changing all those rules, not only is it to overturn the 14th Amendment, but they can rewrite, literally, in changing laws, they can literally rewrite the Constitution with 2/3 of Congress. You own everything, so it can't happen. And see, this is to your point. This is why Jake, you know, instead of trying to be a part of we the people, used to be worrying about being his people.
All
right? It's just that simple. When I say his people, the people of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, people near and dear to him, as he says in Deuteronomy 7:6, Deuteronomy 14:2. Okay?
Yeah, this is Deuteronomy 7 verse 6. It says, "For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy power. The Lord, Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, thy power, hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth." Yep. So right now we're in the lowest state, but yet in the eyesight, you know, spiritually, how Bashem Yahweh Shai, we are a people that's cherished unto him.
Yep.
You know. Yep.
Okay. All right, back to the article. It says in the 1950s and 60s, the Army used blowers on top of buildings and in the back of station wagons to spray potential carcinogen into the air surrounding a St. Louis housing project where most residents were black. All right. It says the government contends the zinc cadmium sulfide sprayed to simulate what would happen in a biological weapons attack was harmless. Then why didn't you do it in your neighborhood? You know? That's the whole thing. You didn't do it in your neighborhood. You came to ours as testing. And see, that's the whole thing with that redlining, putting everybody in one general area, easier to attack. You know? It says Phillips.
How is it harmless if it's a potential carcinogen? That don't even make sense.
Yeah, well,
carcinogens.
It's the way they do the laws. They will say that a certain amount of it, you know, just like our natural water, only has to be 51% potable to be drinkable, 51% pure to be drinkable, to be potable. You know, that's crazy. And then and see what they're not saying is, over time, how long does it take that remaining 49% to take effect? Yeah, they gotta go. All right. It says Phillips and Chester Deans disagree. The men who grew up in the Pruitt Eagle housing complex are now leading the charge, seeking compensation and further health studies that could determine whether the secretive testing contributed to various illnesses or premature deaths that some Pruitt Eagle residents later suffered. It says, "We were experimenting on," Phillips said. That was a plan, and it wasn't an accident. We were experimenting on. That was a plan, and it wasn't an accident. It says the new push comes as federal lawmakers are weighing compensation for people claiming harm from other government actions and inactions during the Cold War. It says the Associated Press reported in July that the government and companies responsible for nuclear bomb production and atomic waste storage sites in and near St. Louis were aware of health risks, spills, and other problems, but often ignore them. Same thing they're doing with these data centers, you know.
Read that last part one more time.
It says the Associated Press reported in July that the government and companies responsible for nuclear bomb production and atomic waste storage sites in and near St. Louis were aware of health risks, spills, and other problems, but often ignored them. Okay? It says many believe the nuclear waste was responsible for the death of loved ones and ongoing health problems, and we know that to be true.
Yeah, and then fast forward to today's time with the stick and prick, right? They knew, like when we talk about Ouchie, they knew when you got stuck that that it caused certain things, and then also certain stuff that mentioned that like 2 to 3, maybe even 5 years down the line, certain things would reveal itself too.
Kill Bates said that himself.
Yeah. So again, this is just another thing that they've always done. They've always known, and then when they start to see things happening, like as we mentioned, healthy, very young and healthy, like soccer players, as we mentioned at camp. You know, basketball players, children.
That football player on, was it Sunday night or Monday Night Football?
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills.
Yep. These things are happening to them, and then you go back to the very people who prescribed this particular injection, and then they go back in the background, and they go back into the background. They're like, okay, we need to investigate it, you know. Which they then come back. All the findings come back that it had nothing to do with what they actually sent forth, and then people take their word. That's just kind of like how it works, you know, how I've seen it.
Well, and then the thing is too, when you go deeper into this, on the videos that I put before the lesson, certain stuff is still classified.
You know, but then too, here's the thing: there's certain things in which they've done where it went into like our parents, and then our parents went and they had children, and then the children were affected because
that was called the epigenetics. How stuff passed down into our DNA. Yeah. And then the lady we talked about doing the second, she was in that video I did with the women talking about, you know, a white man. Epigenetics. If that trauma passed down through our genetic fabric during slavery, what about the mentality that those colonizers and slave owners had? Didn't it pass down to them? So yeah, it's called the epigenetics. How that happens. You know, we may not personally come in contact with it, but you know, hey, if you doing stuff for so long, that's why I always, when we talk about health stuff, and this is not medical information, your cells regenerate every 7 years. So even though you can look the same, you a whole different person. Well, those are the same cells that pass off to offspring. You know, that's why they was testing stuff for, you know, 1, 2, 3, or 4 decades to make sure that it was in there. All right. All right. Back. You got anything other one?
No.
Okay. So back to the article. It says the AP report, part of a collaboration with the Missouri Independent and Nonprofit Newsroom, Muckrock, examined documents obtained by outside researchers through the Freedom of Information Act. Okay. It says Republican U.S. Senator Josh Hawley introduced legislation soon after the news reports calling for expansion of an existing compensation program for exposure victims. The Senate endorsed the amendment, while the White House has yet to vote. Democratic President Joe Biden said last month that he was prepared to help in terms of making sure that those folks were taken care of. If this ain't passed by yet, it ain't happening.
Wait, who said that?
Joe Biden. He was president at the time.
Oh, yeah, he. Never mind.
Yeah, well, we knew it didn't happen with him. We know it ain't happening with this one.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Yeah.
He says, former residents of Pruitt-Ego say that they should be taken care of too. Phillips and Dean, 75, are co-founders of FACTS, which stands for Pruitt-Ego Historical Accounting, Compensation, and Truth-Seeking. Their attorney, Elkin Kistner, said it would be appropriate and necessary for Hawley's proposal to be widened to include former Pruitt-Ego residents. That name, Kistner. Sounds like Amalek.
Well, their hand, we're finding that their hand is in, and everything.
Can you look up origin of the surname?
I could do it. I'll do
okay,
it.
yeah.
I'll do it. Yeah.
Surname.
Spell it for me.
Kistner.
Oh, hold on. Spell it one more time for me.
Kistner.
It says the surname Kistner is of German origin. It derives from the Middle High German word Kisti with a Kiste, meaning chest, box, storage container. Originally, it was likely an occupational surname for someone who made, sold, or kept chests and boxes, similar to a cabinet maker or a carpenter. All right. Then it says the name is most commonly found in German, Austria, parts of Switzerland. Later among German immigrant families in the United States. Yeah.
And we know a lot of them was Ashkenaz too. That's what Germans.
And you know they blend themselves in, they change their names and everything.
Yep, all the time.
Yeah.
The Speaker of the House, they say that's not his real name. Mike Johnson. Benjamin Netanyahu, that's not his real name.
Right.
B.B. Milkowski. So, yeah.
Well, and anything, again, we talk about fugitives and vagabonds, you know, and when you're trying to elude the law, you know, you're trying to hide yourself, you know, you're going to change your name, you're going to change your appearance. You know, these are just attributes of a criminal. You'll take on, you'll blend in and take on the customs of somebody of places in which you've gone and you've taken. You're going to blend in, you know, to the best way. But the Lord has given us certain things to look for with Esau, Edom, so-called white man.
Yeah.
The first thing, you know, the thing is when you look at that pigment.
Yep.
You know, the skin pigment. It doesn't necessarily mean just because your skin pigment is of a red hue, but that is an indicator.
Yep.
You know, because again, our people are also blended in, and we look just like some of the people, the nations in which were scattered.
Yep.
Okay, so it's not a black and white thing, but that is a strong indicator, but they still hide themselves, you know, amongst the people. And call themselves by the name of the lands in which they've conquered and colonized.
Yep. Was that Micah 2:2? He oppress a man in his house,
even a man in his heritage.
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's grab it real quick and just read it. We'll just talk on it, so we'll just read it.
I'm gonna just start at verse 1.
Okay.
Going to this Micah 2:1. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hands."
Which is what we're dealing with right now. That's exactly explaining what they did. They had the power to do it. Just go in your neighborhoods and set up stuff to take you out. Go ahead.
Yep. Verse 2. It says, "And they covet fields and take them by violence, in houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage.
That's colonization and taking over their heritage. You know.
And then they set the we go back to those unrighteous creeds that we brought out earlier that they set up. And now that they're in the driver's seat as far as the world, the whole entire world, now you got we got proverbs that make more sense. It says, "For they sleep not, lest they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away." They're on their beds, right? They're in their leisure when they could be doing a lot of other things. But as Proverbs said, they sleep not unless they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they have caused some to fall. And who are that some? You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. It's a joy to them when calamity befalls us. It's a joy to them when they put out something that is unrighteous and they hide it between their laws, and then our people go and follow it. Like for example, they throw out certain baits like the PPP loans.
Oh man.
Right? Yeah. Many of our people ran to it and they jumped on it. And a lot of our people that aren't walking in the spirit found ways to be with that scammer culture.
Yeah.
So now they found ways to make thousands of dollars, and they thought like, oh, this is free money. You know how our people talk in the streets. And then later on, I think about a year or two later, they came right back around, and a lot of those people got, and probably are still, being looked for or being attacked, taxes and certain things being taken from people, even up to jail time and fines for something that they set out. They just threw it out there. Go something a little bit more. What's that? When they would do those, I know, like I hear it a lot in Chicago, but when they go into the neighborhoods and they'll put out a nice car, or they'll set a truck with guns and materials, and gym shoes.
Trains will have the guns, and those trucks have the gym shoes.
Right, and they'll just sit it out there and just sit back, and like you had mentioned, they sit back and they lurk and they watch and they see, who's doing what, and they see where everything's being moved and being sold, and then they come in and they say, hey, we just made a drug bust of guns and of such and such of millions of dollars, and yet they set it up.
Yeah, I mean, and that literally got Jake twice in the same year, being stupid. PPP loans was the second thing, but the jab was the first. Biden got on TV and said, they stripped this video, I can't find it nowhere. He said, we have to give it to the underserved communities first. It has to go to the tribes.
Yeah.
The blacks, the Hispanics, and Native Americans. When have they ever given us something free when history shows they've taken everything from us? Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right.
Do we have more on that?
No, that was
it.
Okay. Says, the government released documents in 1994 revealing details about the spraying, and St. Louis wasn't alone, in being subjected to secretive Cold War era testing. Similar sprayings occurred at nearly 3 dozen other locations. Man, I have to look those up. Says, there were other types of secret testing. In a 2017 book, St. Louis sociologist Lisa Martino Taylor cited documents obtained through FOIA, that's the Freedom of Information Act, requests to detail how pregnant women in several cities were given doses of radioactive iron during normal prenatal visits to determine how much was absorbed into the bloodstream of the mothers and babies. The government also created radiation fields inside buildings, including a California high school. The area of the testing in St. Louis was described in Army documents as a densely populated slum district. See? About 3/4 of the residents were black. So, it's, that's what they do. Or if you hear that word blighted, that's talking about our neighborhoods too. All right? Urban renewal. That's me taking over your stuff. Says, we were living in so-called poverty, Dean said, and that's why they did it. They have been experimenting on those living on the edge since I've known America. And of course, they could get away with it because they didn't tell anyone. Well, they didn't tell anyone, but it's also at the hands of the government, the ones who makes the laws. You know, who was that? What that Rockefeller Rothschild says, I care not who makes the laws as long as I control the money. Well, if you can control the money, you control the laws.
Yeah. So 3/4, would be 75%.
Yep.
And so I just did so if you had a small town of, let's just say mixture of blacks and whites, right? 5,000 people, and you said how many percentage of them were black?
3/4.
3/4. So 5,000 people, 3,750 people were black who were affected of that 5,000.
Yep.
So just to give an idea.
Says Pruitt Eagle was built in the 1950s with the promise of a new and better life for lower income residents. The project failed and was demolished in the 1970s. I think around 1976 to be exact. Says despite the ultimate demise, Deans and Phillips said that through their youth, Pruitt Eagle was a welcoming place. Yet over the years, both men cited countless premature deaths and unusual illnesses among relatives and friends who once lived in Pruitt Eagle. Phillips' mother died of cancer, and his sister suffered from convulsions that puzzled her doctors, he said. Phillips himself lost hearing in one ear due to a benign tumor. Dean's brother battled health problems for years and died of heart failure. Both men wonder if the spraying was responsible. It's a carcinogen. Says, and a government study found that in the worst case scenario, repeated exposure to zinc cadmium sulfide could cause kidney and bone toxicity and lung cancer. Yet the Army contends there's no evidence that anyone in St. Louis was harmed. You sprayed them from over 10 years. Jeez.
Well, but then when you say that no one over St. Louis was harmed, what part of St. Louis?
Yeah.
Could
have been at that 25%.
Yeah, that you are speaking of. Yeah.
Could have been that 25% because, and this not getting out service just goes to show you. Remember this thing called the Nielsen ratings? That was before digital TV was out. They could tell what population of people were watching certain programs. Well, those people had a literal box from the government. Like, we never had that growing up. They didn't care what our opinion was.
Right.
Yeah, it was called Nielsen ratings. Every house did not have that.
Can I bring this up?
Go ahead.
Quick? Sure. This is Psalms chapter 64, and I'm gonna just start at verse 4. It says, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They shall say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. Yeah. All right, so this is Esau to a T again. All right. Hey, they, like I said earlier, they do things. A lot of these things they do things in secrecy so that no one sees them, and they obviously they do it to try to get away with it, man. All right, it says they encourage themselves in an evil matter, man. So all these things, man, that they're doing, all right, they know that they're being wicked, man.
Yep.
All right, but that's just Esau's nature. All right. They commune of land snares privily, saying, hey, they say who shall see them, all right? So, hey, they doing it. Hey, they ain't gonna know it's us, all right? That's how Esau is, man. It says they search out iniquities that accomplish a diligent search, and that's exactly what he does, man. All right, Esau is like the perfect villain, man. All right, they search out any and every way to try to destroy the nation of Israel, man. All right, and like I said, they were spraying these things in the sky, and most of the time it probably didn't have an immediate effect, man. These things probably took time to set in.
Yep.
All right.
Well, you think about it with Tuskegee experiment. That was their MO with that. They had the remedy for it, but they wanted to watch them over 40 years to see what the effect was. So, like you said, that's describing them to a T, you know.
It says, both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. So, man, wickedness, all right, and evilness is something that's built in them, man. All right, they search out iniquities, man. They search out things to do Israel bad, and they stick to it, man. All right. They anything they can search out to try to destroy out the nation of Israel, whether it be something they do to you monetarily, or physically, emotionally, or any type of thing. They're gonna search it out, and they're gonna try to put their hand forth to do it, man.
Yep.
All right. I forgot my train of thought. Shit, but
read one more time.
Yep. This is Psalm 64:6. It says, "They search out iniquities; they accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep."
And to also back you up, what's being said is that when they sit out and they were going to do, this thing to the people, they diligent search. They knew, like, hey, these are going to be the outcomes. This is what are things that we're going to expect, to happen. And when we see these things, they know that these are like some of the symptoms. So that's why, like, when you anytime you read like medicines or certain things that you get, or if you're being exposed to lead and things like that, they know, like, these are the symptoms. These are the things that you'll see happening to people.
Well,
that's in their diligent search. They know, right? So they done these testings, and so then of course, these things you're going to see that Yahweh Bashmi Al-Shai is going to put these curses and things upon them.
Yep. Yeah, it's an experiment, and when you look at an experiment in its rare form, how do you experiment? You both control the environment, and you control the variables of that environment to get a desired outcome, and that's what they do. And unfortunately, Jake still want to trust them. Yeah. Why this whole, like, even this article, he's talking about reparations. You're asking the people to pay restitution for something they intended on doing, and they're gonna be smug with you. We're not paying nothing. Furthermore, anybody like that House Resolution 4321, any municipality puts forth legislation to pay the slaves or reparations, you're not getting any federal aid. That's at the top level, man. But they can't. The top level of this government. So, Jake, the writing on the wall is clear. Yeah, one place to turn. Only one place. And that's back to Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai.
God, we get in there.
Yep.
So with that, we hope that this lesson was edifying, uplifting, exhorting to the elect body of true believers. Before we end, we'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the globe. Until next time, all those listening and learning to you, we say Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom. Yeah, we'll put a link to this article in the description box of the video too.